Hello, everyone. This is Defub21, and I have found something rather interesting on the internet. Specifically, apparently, a new, well, not a new Star Trek show. An existing Star Trek show has gone from being a terrible to at least a medium. This is a deeply, deeply shocking series of events, as far as I'm concerned. I stopped watching Star Trek Discovery years ago, and I only watched the first season of Star Trek Picard and then lost all interest. But apparently, the third and apparently final season of Star Trek Picard is apparently at least okay to good. So I thought I might take a look at it and give you a short, what's the word for it? A short review of it. Give you my opinion on it. So without further ado, let's do that. Well, I've just finished watching the first episode, episode 1 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard, and well, it's a bit too early to say for me. I know some of the people who've been commenting on how this season is good have seen at least the first, I believe it is five or six episodes, so they'd be better qualified to say than I would. But so far, so good. Again, I got so put off by Star Trek Picard's first season, I didn't bother watching the second. And I also was equally put off by Star Trek Discovery and haven't watched that at all. I believe there's also a Star Trek, is it Strange New Worlds, the one starring Captain Pike? I haven't really watched any of that at all, though I believe it is better. Although, again, don't quote me on it because I haven't seen that. But so far from this, so far so good. The production values are obviously very, very good, which can be a bit, might be initially deceiving in terms of one's initial impressions, far from the very first episode of the season. But the writing is good. Patrick Stewart is on point for Captain Picard. Again, he's now older now, and he's kind of, the voice is a bit going a bit frail on him, but he's still there. Riker is Riker, as one would hope and expect. He's been the actor who does his role, who I have forgotten. Is it Michael Frakes? I can't remember. I've completely forgotten. Please forgive me. But he's doing Riker as Riker. It all comes across as being very much closer to next gen than the more recent shows. There is a bit of swearing, which is you might complain about that. Oh, you're being a bit puritanical over that, but like, again, that was never really a Star Trek thing. I think it was like one joke in one of the next gen movies where I think Data swore, but apart from that, it has been absent from Star Trek, and it's like kind of more modern day real Earth language in Star Wars. It feels out of place, but so far so good. I think it looks good. The special effects are good. Clearly, like kind of near the end of some of the seasons of Star Trek Discovery I've seen, it looked like they were in the first season. It looked like they were cutting costs in places. Again, because of budget limitations, because Netflix basically insisted on not funding the shows anymore because they did so badly for them. But again, first episode impressions are good. I hope there isn't too much kind of quote unquote fan service. I always find that annoying. I find it annoying in Star Wars, that the fan service of Star Trek and Star Wars should be new Star Wars and new Star Trek that's good quality, not rather than constant cameos with fan favorite characters from like 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. And stuff that maybe only the real nerds that would have played the video games or read the novels or the comic books in the case of either Star Wars or Star Trek as well. I'm principally interested in just story, not member berries. But so far, yeah, good impression. It gives a good impression. I'm optimistic that what people have been saying is true, and that it is in fact will be better than what we've seen recently. And to be clear, when it comes to what we've seen recently, my personal perspective in terms of Star Trek as a television show. I know some Trekkies hate the more recent movies. I've no particular issue with them per se. But in terms of Star Trek television shows, I'm again of the view that it peaked with Deep Space Nine and then kind of went backwards, particularly in terms of storytelling. With Star Trek Voyager, I think that the entire concept of that show was a fantastic concept that was wasted because they regressed the writing from more serialized storytelling, and particularly the later seasons of Deep Space Nine, to a much more episodic format in Voyager. And of course, Star Trek Enterprise, which is kind of the last show. I mean, I don't have any, I don't owe, I don't have any animus towards. I think it's Scott Bakula is his name. The actor was also that in the star in that time traveling show from the 80s, and he was very good in that. But I think I always thought he was miscast as a captain in a Star Trek show, and I've always thought that show was, again, just furthered on the decline of Star Trek television. Hopefully, if this season is good and the ratings are good, it'll send a message to the powers that be that there's still, demand for good Star Trek content out there, and that, the Star Trek won't disappear into the ether for God knows how long, because no one thinks it can sell. I mean, it can sell. People will watch it. It's just that the stuff has to be good, and you can't be constantly antagonizing the fan base by putting people in charge who don't like Star Trek and try to, meddle with it as a result, which has been, I think, what certainly there are a lot of people out there who seem to have the view that the people who've been in charge up until now, again, just don't like Star Trek. And so that's the reason why it's gotten into the position of controversy that it is in. But either way, so far so good, and hopefully it'll be the same or better going into the future. So let me know below what you think in the comments about the episode. Please do a thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. This is Defub21, over and out.